In this video, we're going to show you how you've taken your 7 pieces of paper that have the cutouts, and you end up with 21 circles. Of course, you really only need 20, and you're going to take those pieces and you are going to end up with a final product that is a nice ornament. And so just zoom out here a little bit, and basically this is our example. One of our students did this. This is the first one to be done, and she chose iodine. So as we go through, the directions are on the lab. So if I pull, if you were in class or if you picked up the lab, on the back of page 2, there's directions in how to put this together. You're actually going to have 3 sections. There's going to be a top section, a middle section, and then a bottom section. The bottom's not listed, but really the top and the bottom are the same idea. So actually on the lab it does say tops and bottoms. And so if we notice this, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces there, and I'm going to do that twice, 1 top, 1 bottom, so that's 10 pieces. Then I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The other 10 is going to be the middle section of 20. And if you notice, there's a shaded area. The shaded area is going to represent the portion that's going to be folded, and you will then either glue or tape together. And so one of the things you need to consider, there's really 2 ways you can put this together. The way that I just showed you on the one over here looks nice and a lot neater. And the alternate is if you were to do it basically backwards and put all the extra flaps on the outside instead of the inside. So when you have all your pieces, that your content's going to go here. So remember, in the previous activity, you had to fill out these 20 questions, or you did research on the Google form for those 20 bits and pieces of information. And so you want to try to keep it pretty straightforward to what you have included on the original document, but also make it artistic, make it stand out, make it look nice and neat. If you want to color it, if you want to use different designs, if you have something that you can print from home, just keep in mind that you're limited to this space when you actually print it out so that it would actually fit in there. So let's say, this is my number 1, which is going to be your name. Let's say this is number 2, this is number 3, and we have our details, number 4, and then number 5. So once I have those 5, if I just use those 5, it's going to be the same for the top and the bottom. And you don't necessarily have to go in that order. You don't have to use the correct order for the top and the next 10 for the middle and the last 5 for the bottom. That's up to you. But when you start to fold them, you want to make sure they're folded all the same way. And so again, we're focusing on this little picture here, where if we were to have them all set up, we'd want to get them so that they can actually be glued together. So if we start to fold these, we're basically going to fold along the lines that were created with the diagram. So it's going to take you some time. If you notice, you're going to fold 2 sides. For every single diagram piece, 2 sides are shaded in. So it really doesn't matter which 2 sides you're going to fold, but you're going to be folding 2 of those sides. And as you fold those 2 sides together, just try to be as close to the line as possible, and that's going to help you get your piece together. So we're going to fold those 2, and we're going to try to go as quickly as possible, but we don't want to make it sloppy. But just to give you guys the idea of what's going on. So what you're going to do, if you notice those 2 pieces, kind of like this, fold this one's folded in and this one's folded in, which represent, for example, this part right here, those 2 pieces, okay? Those are kind of adjacent pieces, or these 2 are adjacent. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to actually I'm going to glue these 2 together. And again, you just want to try to do it as best you can. Try to get as much glue on there as possible so that you have, as many contact points so that that will actually stick together. And so once you've lined them up, make sure that they are lined up together. You may need to play around with them a little bit. And it's okay if one of them is upside down or one's going in a different direction. It doesn't really matter which direction they face, because you're going to be looking at it from all different directions. And so once I do that, I'm going to end up with 5 of these together. We want to make sure that, again, if I had folded this the other way, all these pieces would be out, and I'd have a piece basically sticking up in the middle here, but I bent them in instead, because it's going to give you an overall better looking product at the end. And so I'm going to do this, and I'm just going to keep going around all the way. And so if we take the next two, every time I fold one more, then we're going to fold each of them twice, just on the outside edge. And you're going to do this again for both the top and the bottom. So we'll get those last two together. And again, we want to try to be as straight as we can. I know that sometimes things are going a little fast. I don't want you to rush through it. I want to make sure that you have a good quality product. And so at the end, we're going to bring all these together, make sure we're going in the right direction here. And so we're going to have all these pieces, and those pieces are going to go together and they're going to be bending up. So I'm going to just take some time here and glue a little bit. We'll glue the next one down. Take it, I'll glue the next one down. And we'll glue the next piece. And then what you need to do is now we're going to bring them together. Now notice it can point up like this. If you bring it up like this is how the other version would look. If you did it backwards, instead, let's say your artwork was on this side, and you put it together, you'd have something that has all these other pieces. Now, if you decide you wanted to do it that way and make it look a little different, that's okay. And so what we need to do is glue this last piece together, but because my artwork is on this side, I don't want to have it focused inside and pointed down. So I need to make sure that I, just basically flip my diagram around so I have this, kind of like cone-shaped structure. I'll pull out a little bit here just so we can see it. So it's more like a cone-shaped structure so that we can actually see those there. So again, I'm going to take and glue my last part, and then I want to make sure it's bent up so that those pieces can now all be together. And so, again, as I'm going through quick, I didn't put a lot of glue. You can always touch and add more glue to it later. You can add other pieces of tape to support. I'm just showing you the general concept. So there is basically the top, and that's going to be the same exact thing you would do on the bottom. You're going to actually mirror that. So you're going to have a top and bottom together, and so, or excuse me, that look identical. Now, if you notice the middle section, they kind of alternate. One kind of is pointing down, one's pointing up, pointing down, pointing up. And what you're going to do is you're going to have 10 of those, and then they're going to loop on themselves. And so if we just take the next, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll get rid of the other 5. That's for the bottom. And again, I would have my content on here. I'm not going to go through and do that. But notice again that everyone has two sides folded. So one's going to be down, one's going to be up. And as we go through, I'm just going to do a few of these just to give you an idea, and then you can figure out the rest. If you have someone that's helping you, again, one up, one down, they can help maybe just hold part of it, or maybe they can help support part of it while you're getting, your fingers in there and trying to get the pieces glued together. It is something that you should be able to do on your own. Again, if you want to use tape or glue, that's fine. If you want to go crazy and use staples, but the very end, your last piece or two is going to be the one that will give you a little harder problem. So if you notice, I have one pointing down. Move this over here, sorry. One pointing down, one pointing up, one pointing down, one pointing up. And so I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to glue these pieces together. And so it's going to be more linear. So let's see, we'll have a little glue there. I'll put those two together. Glue here. I'll bring these two together. I'm going to glue here. And then once you have all those glued and you have your 10 across, the middle part is 10. What you're going to do is you're actually going to take your two outside edges, and your outside edges are going to be what actually will go through, and you will glue those together. And so I'm going to do just a couple more here just to make it a little longer so it makes a little more sense. And basically you're going to have like an inner circle and that inner circle will match up. So if we do one side up, one down, let's see, that one's going up, so this one's got to go down. And we'll do one more here just for the sake of it being a little longer and give a better representation of what it should look like. So that one was down, this one's going up. And so what you're going to have, again, at the end, I'm going to take these two pieces, and I'm basically going to glue those two. But again, I only have four that I've used here. You're going to use a total of 10. Sorry, I used 6. So you take those two pieces, again, you have something that looks rather linear. I mean, it going straight across. I'm going to take my two end pieces, and those two end pieces are what we'll glue together. And what I'll end up with is, again, it's kind of, my hands are in the way here, but I have something that is kind of like, you know, it kind of goes around in a circle, and, you know, it's kind of hard to look at it over here, but basically we have this opening. And those pieces, all the pieces here, for example, if we look at these pieces here, when I fold these pieces over, these pieces are all going to match to these pieces. And so you're going to have a middle section and then a top section. And so I will show you just a little bit about that, and basically we'll do a couple more here just to make it look better. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just so you get the real effect, why not, right? So that one's going up, this one's going to come down. One up, one down. Remember, they're going to alternate. And so, again, as we look at this, it's pretty, I mean, it's pretty linear. It's going across, yeah, it zigzags a little bit, but it's going to be pretty linear across. We got 2 more to go. Remember, you're going to have 1 extra piece. If you cut out all of the circles, you'll end up with 21 circles. You're only going to use 20 of them. You have 5 on the top, 5 on the bottom, and then, of course, 10 in the middle. Okay, so here we got this big section. I'm going to glue this together. So again, we're at the very end. We're going to take the very end, and then we're going to loop it on itself. I'm going to wrap the other end. So I'm going to take the other end, and I've brought it together to complete the circle, okay, or to complete a loop or complete a ring. And so once this is done, okay, I now have this section. Okay, this is basically just a continuous loop here. Okay, we got this section in the middle. This section in the middle, if we notice, I now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points. Those 5 points are going to match up with the 5 points here. So basically this is going to set on top, but we need to fold them all in, of course. So this is where you become a little more your dexterity and your hand-eye coordination needs to play in. I'm going to fold this piece down, okay, and this piece right here will glue onto this piece right here. And then the same thing, my next 2 pieces, as I turn around, these 2 pieces are going to go together, okay, that one and this one, and then I'm just going to keep going around all the way. So I'm going to do that, and then at the bottom, that's where you might need a little more extra help. The last piece, or the last 2 pieces, might be really, really difficult because it's hard to get your hand inside. And what you can then do at the very end, if it's open a little bit, you can just put a little piece of tape at the end to really keep the pieces together. So if there's some space as you're going through, so if you notice, for example, like here, there's some space, you can take your 2 pieces together, and I could then decide to use tape instead, pinch them together a little bit, or even just maneuver the ornament at the very end put it together, and you can, you know, send a piece of tape down there so it will hold better. The glue, again, is just, you know, kind of a temporary fix, but it does also allow you to have a little more flexibility. So hopefully you've got the idea. Once you've done, again, those top 5 pieces with the middle 10 sections, then of course you have your last 5. I would recreate the same thing that I have on the top, and I would just do it on the bottom, because I'm going to have 5 more pieces that will tape. And again, at the very end, what we end up with is our ornament, and your ornament should have 20 different items on it, and 20 different sides or 20 different triangles. And when you're finally done, again, you are going to make sure that it looks, you know, make sure it looks artistic, but do the work. Notice the work was already done. I only drew, you know, the numbers just to show you the outside versus the inside, but make sure you're doing all your work first before you put it on there. You don't want to make, you know, like a plain one like this, and then all of a sudden, you know, you're trying to draw on it and you're going to press in there and you're going to ruin your object. So that's how you put the ornament together, and I look forward to seeing your results.